we've talked about this in the past, but Lupe Fiasco is not impressed with Kendrick Lamar lyrically. Lupe has said multiple times that he wouldn't even put him in the top 100 or whatever, right?
Damn. That's hate.
So, well, maybe.
Big hate.
Again, we talked about this like a year ago, but this kind of resurfaced. And I don't know if this had anything to do with the fact that King Green, shouts to the Rap Latte guys, he made a video about breaking down what lyricism actually is from an MC's perspective. And all of a sudden this started popping up again. So I don't know if there's anything related to that, but there's a video here. If you saw, there's a guy named Quality who interviewed Lupe because apparently Lupe was in his comments when he was talking about some stuff. And they brought him together and they were talking about it. So this is just a small clip of it.
Lupe got on stream with a YouTube personality named Quality. His channel is Quality Reacts. Looks like they went on live for about 3 hours. The conversation turned to Lupe Fiasco and Kendrick Lamar, and Lupe Fiasco doubling down on the claim that he has been making for years, that he believes that he's a better rapper than Kendrick Lamar. Now, during his talk with Koala, Lupe did say that he thinks there's hundreds of rappers better than Kendrick. But he also said that he believes that Kendrick is a better artist than him. Keyword, better artist than him.
You're going to have to say, I'm talking about just purely battle rapping. I'm not talking about albums. I'm not talking about making songs. I'm not talking about being an artist. All things that I've said all these years. He's a better artist than me. He makes better albums. He has a better team. He has better beat selection. He has better production. Right? He has all of these better things, right? When it comes down to lyricism, when it comes down to these lyrics and putting these bars for bar for bar for bar, no. Everything else, for sure.
With that, if we separate technical rapping, rhyme schemes, wordplay from overall artistry, album structure, sonic cohesion, does hip-hop history ultimately value the master artist over the master lyricist?
I think there is value to both, but when I think about somebody who's just a master lyricist, somebody where if you just put them in a room and it's time to rap and you got to make a show out of rapping, or there has to be a spectacle of just lyrics and the ability to rap, maybe no music, no dancers, no lights, no nothing, then that to me is KRS-One. But
I mean, that's Lupe.
I mean, and honestly, I would draw parallels between them.
Right.
But if you're talking, like I think he was honest and saying, hey, every other category he's got me beat. And I think that's very accurate. Every other category he does have Lupe beat.
Yeah.
But as far as like somebody where I'm consistently having, or someone having to rewind, or someone will say, did you hear this? Did you see how he tied this to this? Or he used this as the thread to tie the first verse to the third. Nobody does that better than Lupe Fiasco.
Yeah, he's an amazing lyricist.
Like I said, I don't know if, like, when he put out that album and he's rapping about dinosaurs, I don't know if I would even be engaged if anybody else did that. But I listened to that Lupe Fiasco project where he was rapping about dinosaurs.
Yeah, he raps from the point of view of like a professor. But like Jay said, if truth be told, if lyrics sold truthfully, lyrically, I'd be Talib Kweli. This is Jay speaking from his point of view of being a gifted artist that can rap, sell records, have production, all of the things that Lupe pretty much brought up in his conversation there. So I think both of them are important to be a lyricist and to be a good all-around artist. But in order to know how to tap into being a good all-around artist, you have to have some kind of lyricism about you as well. I would think it's not a focus on the lyricism, so to speak, but there are artists that have their own pocket or own lane that can thrive in that lyricist lounge type of, you know what I'm saying, situation or songs that they're making, because there is a crowd or a fan base for them. But if your sole purpose is to be more popular and to be heard by more people, then 9 times out of 10 you're going to pick the artist, the overall artist pocket versus the lyricist pocket if you know how to do it,
Yeah.
And to me, man, Lupe is very good. He's just too damn good. You know what I mean? Like, that project that he had where he was rapping about like slaves in the ocean or whatever. Like it was a great song, that project was good. But at the same time, I'm like, how many times am I going to listen to this out? You know what I mean? I'm never going to come back to this. I don't have an interest in coming back to listen to this. He said it was his words, dumb it down. And he never did it. You know what I mean? Like, he came back and he was just hitting people over the head, just keep going over people's head. And that was the problem. I think that's the difference between why Lupe didn't really go to the way he was supposed to, because he never really dumbed his music down. He was always going over most of his consumers' head.
I think he.
So does it, again, to the question though, does hip hop history ultimately value the master artist over the master lyricist?
Yes.
That kind of says yes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy thing about this particular conversation is both of them are omega level threats, just to get into some nerd shit. As far as what I consider to be lyricists.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, do I think there's an edge for Lupe? But it's not at this wide chasm, in my opinion.
I think it is.
But I don't know. But I think part of it is because Kendrick doesn't, you know, he still is like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. It's not like, okay, I'm going to bar you up and have you, you know, sitting with your thesaurus to try to figure out what I said so you could perhaps use it as a thesis.
So he has, so with that, the difference here, I think, is their approach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lupe is very much, no, I'm going to give you this masterful piece to where, like, I'm going to make you think even if you don't want to. Sometimes I feel like Kendrick intentionally keeps it simple for the general artist in general. Like, I think he's really good at understanding what the line is to where, like, I can be simple with complex ideas. Whereas Lupe is kind of doing both. Now, I don't necessarily agree that Lupe doesn't have the type of work and material that Kendrick has. I think Lupe's first two albums are right there.
That's it.
But then he shot himself in the foot.
Yeah,
maybe, but at the same time, it doesn't.
Label.
But at the same time, it doesn't mean, like, Lupe's quality of work is still immensely high on, like, everything he's done. But his first two albums, I think, I would say, he's a masterful artist as well as a masterful lyricist. You know, even the record where he rapped kind of the same verse twice on it, you know, with two different perspectives on it. You know, like, that was his way to kind of, like, simplify it in a way, you know. And so I feel like he's, out of all the super duper Lupe lyrical artists and spawns of his and things of that nature that exist, I feel like he does a pretty good job in general of balancing that line for how crazy he is with how complex he is.
I think he was better early on in his career. Even when you think about his ascension, his first song that the masses heard him on was Kanye West.
Touch the Sky.
Touch the Sky. Yeah.
That's the first time people heard him, and that created a buzz amongst what he was already making online. And then to follow that up with
Food
and Liquor. And then the Cool, he was on his way. And then whatever happened between him and his label, and even the single that he dropped for Lasers was fire. But to me, it didn't match the overall vibe I think I was looking for.
It wasn't even on the
Lupe.
album.
It wasn't. I don't even remember.
Nah, I'm beaming it wasn't on the album.
Yeah, so I think that album is what kind of shot himself in the foot as far as continuing his ascension, and he kind of blamed it on people pirating. I don't know if y'all seen that.
Well, remember, Food and Liquor was so. I had Food and Liquor for months.
Yeah, but he's saying to say that though, a lot of artists were pirated during that time. So he was in a show pretty much blaming people stealing his album.
I don't actually disagree with that though. I feel like that probably had a big, because he was such a unique. Look, when I first got hip to Lupe, like, he was big on mixtape. He had a lot of mixtapes too. And when I first got hip to him, I was downloading his mixtapes, but then I also was like, oh, he's got an album too. You know, it's like, okay, let me check that out. So I've already so it was like he was in this weird, like, pocket of, like, when he emerged that, like, it's kind of
three of those albums.
It's kind of a unique Lupe thing in a way, but I don't disagree with him.
Not as a whole, but to say that your career fell off based off of that when you gave us Lasers?
Well, I mean, again, we know the history of Lasers, right? So
I mean, he gave us good projects after that as
Yeah, he
well,
did.
but it just nothing ever got to the level of those first two.
sure,
You know, so
well, the
everybody,
momentum.
yeah, everybody was looking for something comparable to those first two projects, man. And unfortunately, he just never gave us anything of that quality again. And I can't say blame it on production because, hell, I don't think he was working on those other projects. I don't think it was anybody different aside from like Pharrell. I don't remember him. Only time I remember him working with Pharrell was on I'm Beaming.
Yeah,
Those albums had a good balance of education, bops, and mainstream appeal.
he's also just one of them artists that he came out of the gate so hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, people forget, or maybe they don't, and they just don't think about it when they talk about Lupe. He had a tremendous amount of commercial success for that era.
Yeah.
You know, he had songs that were played a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
No, for sure.
You know, I mean, even songs like Dumb It Down had videos. You know, he was able.
Save Me.
Yeah, Hip Hop Saved Me, Paris, Tokyo, Superstar. Like
Kick
he
Bush.
had records, you know, that played on TV and on the radio and
Absolutely.
wherever you were, you heard on a pretty
And
regular
still get
basis.
played out right now.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I program a lot of Lupe just into the place in my restaurant, you know, just because I need to hear it. Those sometimes I throw a few in for me, and Lupe is a part of that wave.
Yeah, I think when just kind of we can move on to the second question, but I think, do we value the specific trait of being one of the greatest skilled MCs and lyricists in that particular? Does hip hop, from any perspective, put that above?
No, because the crowd has changed. So the people that have their ears on hip hop aren't listening for the exact same things that people originally were. So you have people that have welcomed hip hop to their ears that never listened to lyricism. Like their introduction to hip hop might have been a poppy hip hop song, and they never felt the need to go back and listen to how did it evolve this way. It's one of the same arguments people have about when you talk about Drake and Kendrick. A lot of the people that don't like Kendrick, like we're talking about how Lupe is more lyrically inclined than a Kendrick is, and Kendrick is still lyrical. And people say they don't want to hear that. They would rather hear what Drake is doing, you know? So I feel like when it comes to the masses and the people that listen to hip hop over the years, it kind of shifted.
But again, I guess what I'm saying is like hip hop is different from that person.
I think ultimately, man, hip hop is a what have you done for me lately business. You know what I mean? And the fans are fickle. So if you're not coming with it, like 3000 said, my favorite group ain't coming with it. You know what I mean? So let's on to the next one.
That's fair.
So I think, and if you not coming with it, the hip hop will forget about you.
Yep.
I think which one is valued more? I think you guys both alluded to it. It's who you ask and when you ask them. You know, I mean, I brought up KRS-One as somebody who's valued, you know, as a straight up lyricist, and as somebody who can move crowds with just his voice and maybe nothing else, you know. But then there are people who have a supreme value for, say, Method Man and Redman because they're able to perform hit songs and perform them in a way, or Busta Rhymes, if we're going to compare, you know, a single artist to another a solo artist. I mean, and those are both solo artists, but you know what I'm talking about. It's a situation to where sometimes they just mean different things to different people depending on the moment they're in.
Yeah,
you know, so it's a kind of hard way to say which one we value more. And look, I mean, I'm not just saying this because you're here. You know, there's a different value we have for someone like Hammer. Who just put on such a great show and can still perform at a level that's probably well beyond his age. And, you know, for all the flack he caught back in the day, we have a value on his ability to entertain us.
It was entertaining. He was going to put on the show.